A billionaire CEO gets a mistaken message from his ex-wife, asking for money to buy baby formula. Sometimes life throws you a curveball when you least expect it. Imagine this: a struggling single mom, trying to make ends meet, accidentally sends a desperate text asking for money to the one person she never intended to contact again, her billionaire ex-husband. What starts as an innocent mistake spirals into a whirlwind of emotions, secrets, and second chances that neither of them saw coming. This is the story of Emily and Nick, two people whose lives were torn apart by pain, pride, and poor decisions, but are now being pulled back together by circumstances beyond their control. Emily's world revolves around her 4-year-old daughter, Lily. Every day is a battle, balancing work, motherhood, and the constant stress of financial instability. Her tiny apartment feels like it's closing in on her. The hum of the old fridge, a constant reminder of how fragile her situation really is. One evening, after realizing she doesn't even have enough money to buy formula for Lily, Emily types out a frantic message to her best friend CLA, hoping for some help, but fate has other plans. Instead of reaching CLA, the message lands in the inbox of someone who hasn't been part of her life in years. Nick, her ex-husband, who left her when their marriage fell apart. Now a tech CEO worth billions, Nick seems like he belongs to another universe altogether. When Emily realizes what she's done, panic sets in. She tries to brush it off, telling herself it's just a harmless error, until Nick responds with 3 words that send chills down her spine. "I'm coming over." Nick isn't the same man Emily remembers. Gone is the uncertainty and hesitation. In its place stands a confident, calculated individual who dominates boardrooms and headlines alike. Yet beneath his polished exterior lies a man haunted by regret. When he shows up at Emily's door, unannounced, dressed in a tailored suit that screams success, there's an undeniable tension between them. It's not just about the past. It's about everything unsaid, every promise broken, and every dream they once shared that now feels like ashes. Nick doesn't mince words. He hands over a solution to Emily's immediate problem: $1 million transfer to her account. But his actions raise more questions than answers. Why would he do something so extravagant? Is it guilt, responsibility, or is there something deeper driving him? As Emily stares at the notification on her phone, disbelief washes over her. $1 million might solve today's crisis, but it opens up a Pandora's box of complications. The weight of Nick's generosity feels suffocating, almost like a debt she can never repay. And then, things take an even wilder turn. More transfers follow, totaling $5 million, leaving Emily reeling. This isn't just help, it's a lifeline thrown with such force that it threatens to sweep her off her feet entirely. But why? What does Nick want from her? Does he think money can fix everything? As Emily grapples with these questions, the walls she built around herself start to crack. Memories of happier times flood back, mingling with the bitterness of abandonment. Can she trust him again? Should she? The stakes get higher when the media catches wind of the mysterious transactions. Suddenly, Emily finds herself thrust into the spotlight, her quiet life shattered by reporters digging for dirt. Headlines scream about the struggling single mom and the billionaire savior, painting a picture far removed from reality. For Emily, this invasion of privacy is unbearable. She didn't ask for this chaos, yet here it is, swallowing her whole. Meanwhile, Nick steps up, determined to shield her and Lily from the storm brewing outside. His protective instincts kick in, reminding Emily of the man she once loved, the man who used to hold her hand during tough times, before walking away without looking back. But is this version of Nick real? Or is he simply trying to rewrite history? Just when it seems like things couldn't get worse, a chilling threat emerges. Someone knows about the transfers, about Lily, and about Emily's vulnerabilities. Blackmail enters the picture, turning their already complicated situation into a ticking time bomb. The demand is clear: pay up, or the world learns all their dirty little secrets. Fear grips Emily as she realizes how exposed she and Lily truly are. Whoever is behind this isn't playing games. They're watching, waiting, and ready to strike, with each new email containing photos of their daily lives. The sense of danger intensifies. Who is this person? How deep does their vendetta against Nick run? And most importantly, what will they do if Nick refuses to comply? Through all the chaos, Nick remains resolute. He mobilizes his resources, hiring private investigators and cybersecurity experts to track down the blackmailer. His dedication is unwavering, but it also forces Emily to confront conflicting emotions. On one hand, she's grateful for his efforts to protect her and Lily. On the other, she can't shake the feeling that relying on him again might cost her dearly. Trust doesn't come easily, especially when it's been broken before. Yet, as they navigate this perilous journey together, moments of vulnerability surface. Late-night conversations reveal glimpses of the man Nick used to be, and the reasons he walked away. Was it really fear of failure that drove him to leave? Or was it something else entirely? The tension between them reaches a boiling point when the blackmailer ups the ante, issuing an ultimatum neither of them can ignore. Emily faces an impossible choice: put herself and Lily directly in harm's way, or risk exposing their lives to the entire world. Nick insists on stepping in, refusing to let her face this alone. But as he prepares to confront the blackmailer head-on, Emily is left grappling with doubt. Will Nick emerge unscathed? Or will this confrontation unravel everything they've fought so hard to rebuild? As the clock ticks closer to the meeting time, Emily paces anxiously, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. Lily plays innocently nearby, oblivious to the turmoil swirling around her. Nick's calm demeanor offers little reassurance, though his determination is evident. He walks out the door, leaving Emily suspended in a state of limbo. The hours drag on, each passing minute stretching into eternity. Finally, her phone rings, breaking the suffocating silence. It's Nick. Relief floods through her as he confirms the blackmailer is in custody. But just as she begins to breathe easier, a nagging question lingers in the air. Is this really the end, or is it merely the calm before another storm? With the immediate threat neutralized, Emily and Nick must now face the bigger challenge ahead: rebuilding trust and deciding whether they can truly move forward as a family. Their journey is far from over, filled with unresolved tensions and lingering doubts. As they sit together in the living room, the weight of unspoken words hangs heavy between them. Nick makes a heartfelt plea to be part of Lily's life, and Emily's once again. But forgiveness isn't easy, and healing takes time. Just as Emily considers giving him a chance, the screen fades to black, leaving viewers hanging on the edge of their seats. What happens next? You'll have to stay tuned to find out, as Emily sat on the edge of her worn-out sofa, staring at the empty can of formula. She couldn't help but think about how drastically her life had changed in just a few days. It felt like she was living someone else's story, someone caught in the whirlwind of wealth, power, and danger. The $5 million sitting untouched in her account loomed over her, an uninvited guest that refused to leave. Every notification, every email, every knock on the door made her flinch. She knew Nick meant well, but his actions had set off a chain reaction she wasn't prepared for. What started as a simple plea for help had spiraled into something neither of them could have anticipated. Nick, too, was grappling with emotions he hadn't faced in years. His polished exterior masked the turmoil brewing inside him. He'd spent so long running from his past, building his empire brick by brick, convincing himself it was all for Lily, for the family he left behind. But now, standing face to face with Emily again, he realized how hollow his success truly was without them. Each photograph sent by the blackmailer taunted him, not just because it exposed their lives, but because it reminded him of what he'd almost lost forever. Carter Reed's vendetta wasn't just personal. It was a reminder of Nick's failures as a husband, a father, and even as a businessman. Meanwhile, Emily wrestled with conflicting feelings. On one hand, she hated relying on Nick. Accepting his money felt like admitting defeat, like giving up the independence she'd fought so hard to maintain. On the other hand, she couldn't deny the relief she felt, knowing they were safe, for now. Her nights were restless, filled with thoughts of what might happen if Carter slipped through the cracks, or if the media dug deeper than Nick's lawyers could handle. And then there was Lily, blissfully unaware of the chaos surrounding her, watching her daughter play innocently in the park. Emily vowed to protect her no matter what. That promise became her anchor amidst the storm. The tension between Emily and Nick continued to simmer beneath the surface. Their conversations often teetered between raw honesty and guarded resentment. One evening, after another sleepless night, Emily confronted him. "Do you even realize what you've done?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You didn't just transfer money, Nick. You blew open a Pandora's box." Nick sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know I messed up," he admitted. "But I couldn't stand by and do nothing while you struggled. While we struggled." His words hung in the air, heavy with regret. For a moment, Emily wanted to believe him, to see the man she once loved, instead of the billionaire who stormed back into her life. But trust wasn't something she could give easily, especially when the stakes were this high. Carter's threats grew bolder with each passing day. Photos of Emily and Lily appeared more frequently, accompanied by cryptic messages designed to keep them on edge. One image showed Lily holding a stuffed bunny outside their apartment building, the caption reading, "TikTok, Mr. Dalton." Another captured Emily walking home from work, her shoulders slumped under the weight of exhaustion. Each photo chipped away at her resolve, making her feel like a prisoner in her own life. Nick noticed the toll it was taking on her. Dark circles had shadowed her eyes, and her usual spark seemed dimmed. Despite everything, he admired her strength, the way she refused to let fear consume her completely. Nick's security team worked tirelessly to track down Carter, but the man was slippery. Burner phones, encrypted accounts, and fake identities kept him one step ahead. Frustration mounted as leads fizzled out, leaving Nick and Emily trapped in a waiting game. During one particularly tense meeting, Nick slammed his fist on the table. "We're running out of time," he growled. "Every second we waste is another chance for him to hurt them." His frustration mirrored Emily's desperation. Though she tried to hide it, she hated feeling powerless. Yet she couldn't shake the nagging thought that perhaps this was karma, a reckoning for letting Nick back into her life. Amidst the chaos, small moments of humanity emerged. Late one night, as Emily tucked Lily into bed, she found herself humming a lullaby Nick used to sing during happier times. The memory caught her off guard, bringing tears to her eyes. Later, when Nick joined her in the kitchen, she hesitated before speaking. "Why now?" she asked softly. "After all these years, why are you doing this?" Nick leaned against The counter, his expression softening. "Because I failed you," he said simply, "and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right." His vulnerability disarmed her, leaving her unsure whether to embrace him or push him away. As the deadline approached for Carter's ultimatum, the atmosphere grew suffocating. Emily barely slept, jumping at every sound. When the final email arrived, with a location and a demand for Nick to come alone, she felt the walls closing in. "You can't go," she pleaded, gripping his arm. "What if something happens to you? What if he hurts Lily?" Nick placed his hands on her shoulders, forcing her to meet his gaze. "I won't let anything happen to either of you," he promised. "This ends tonight." Though she wanted to argue, she saw the determination in his eyes and knew there was no stopping him. That evening, as Nick prepared to leave, Emily stood by the window, watching him disappear into the darkness. Her mind raced with worst-case scenarios, each one worse than the last. Hours ticked by, agonizingly slowly, the silence broken only by Lily's occasional murmurs in her sleep. Finally the phone rang, shattering the stillness. Emily snatched it up, her heart pounding. "It's over," Nick said, his voice calm but weary. Relief washed over her, followed quickly by anger. "What happened?" she demanded. "How did you stop him?" Nick explained that Carter's operation was crumbling, his resources depleted. "He was bluffing," Nick said, hoping I'd pay him off before he ran out of options. Emily sank onto the couch, shaking her head in disbelief. "I can't believe it's really over." But as she looked at Nick, standing there exhausted but triumphant, she realized the fight wasn't just about stopping Carter. It was about rebuilding trust, finding forgiveness, and deciding whether they could truly move forward together. In the days that followed, Emily and Nick began to navigate their new reality. The media frenzy died down, thanks to Nick's legal team, but the real work lay ahead. They talked late into the night, unpacking years of pain and regret. Slowly, tentatively, they started to find common ground, not as exes, but as parents determined to give Lily the stability she deserved. Yet even as hope flickered to life, lingering doubts remained. Could they overcome the scars of the past? Or would the ghosts of their mistakes haunt them forever? As they stood side by side, watching Lily chase butterflies in the park, Emily allowed herself a glimmer of optimism. Maybe, just maybe, second chances weren't about erasing the past. They were about creating a future worth fighting for. As Emily watched Nick read to Lily, a sense of calm she hadn't felt in years settled over her. For the first time, it seemed possible that they could navigate this tangled web of emotions and mistakes together. But just as life began to feel steady again, another twist sent shockwaves through their fragile peace. A letter arrived at Emily's apartment, a plain, white envelope with no return address. Inside was a single photograph of Lily playing in the park, along with a note, "You can't protect her forever." Fear gripped Emily like a vice. She called Nick immediately, her voice trembling as she relayed the message. His reassurance came quickly, but even he couldn't mask the tension in his tone. Whoever had sent the letter wasn't Carter Reed. It was someone new, someone who knew far too much about them. The discovery forced Nick and Emily to confront an uncomfortable truth. While Carter had been dealt with, their lives were still under scrutiny. The media frenzy might have died down, but the cracks left behind by the scandal remained. Someone out there wanted to exploit those vulnerabilities, and Lily was caught in the crossfire. Nick doubled down on security measures, hiring round-the-clock protection for both Emily and Lily. He insisted they move into a safer location temporarily, but Emily resisted. Moving felt like running away, like admitting defeat, yet, as days Past and more cryptic messages appeared. Fear began to outweigh pride. Reluctantly, she agreed to relocate, knowing deep down that Lily's safety came before anything else. Living closer to Nick brought its own challenges. Their proximity forced them to face unresolved feelings head-on. Late-night conversations became frequent, often starting with practical discussions about Lily, but inevitably drifting toward deeper topics: regret, forgiveness, and hope. One evening, as rain tapped softly against the window, Nick turned to Emily with uncharacteristic vulnerability. "I know I can't erase what I did," he said, his voice low and earnest, "but every day I wake up wanting to prove to you that I've changed, that we can be better, for Lily, for us." Emily hesitated, torn between her lingering resentment and the growing realization that Nick truly meant what he said. It scared her, not because she doubted him, but because letting him back in meant risking heartbreak all over again. The mystery surrounding the anonymous threats reached a boiling point when Nick's private investigator uncovered a startling lead. The person behind the letters wasn't targeting Nick or Emily directly. They were after something bigger. Digging deeper, the team discovered ties to a rival tech company seeking revenge for a failed acquisition years ago. What started as personal vendettas had morphed into a corporate chess game, with Emily and Lily unwittingly placed in the middle. Armed with this knowledge, Nick devised a plan to expose the culprits publicly, turning the tables on those trying to manipulate them. It was risky, but staying silent posed an even greater danger. The climax unfolded during a high-profile charity gala hosted by Nick's company. Cameras flashed as Nick stood confidently at the podium, addressing a room full of reporters, investors, and industry elites. Beside him, Emily sat quietly, clutching Lily's hand. When Nick revealed the orchestrated campaign against his family, the room fell silent. Evidence poured in: emails, financial records, and testimonies exposing the rival company's unethical tactics. The crowd erupted into murmurs, and the media circus shifted focus overnight. By the end of the night, the mastermind behind the threats was arrested, leaving Emily and Nick free to rebuild without looking over their shoulders. With the immediate threat neutralized, Emily and Nick focused on healing. They attended counseling sessions together, learning how to communicate openly and navigate the complexities of co-parenting. Slowly, trust began to take root, nurtured by shared moments of laughter and quiet understanding. Lily flourished under the stability, her bright smile a testament to the progress they'd made. Though challenges lingered, old habits, lingering doubts, they faced them as a team, united by a common goal: giving Lily the life she deserved. In the final months of that year, Emily found herself reflecting on how far they'd come. Standing in the doorway of Lily's bedroom one evening, she watched Nick tuck their daughter into bed. His movements were gentle, deliberate, filled with love. Tears pricked her eyes, not from sadness, but from gratitude. Life hadn't handed them a perfect second chance. Instead, it had forced them to fight for one. And in doing so, they discovered something invaluable: resilience. Love wasn't about erasing the past. It was about building a future strong, enough to withstand it. As the credits rolled on their story, viewers were left with a powerful takeaway. Sometimes, the hardest battles yield the sweetest victories. Emily and Nick proved that forgiveness isn't instantaneous. It's earned, brick by brick. Their journey reminded audiences that family isn't defined by blood alone, but by the effort put into mending broken bonds. And those scars remain. They serve as reminders of where we've been and how far we've come. In the end, it wasn't money, or fame that saved them. It was love, determination, and the unwavering belief that second chances are worth fighting for.